Good day, good people. Welcome to the MathHub Mathematics and Start on Ascending. In today's lesson, we want to practice the topic quadratics, tichishandisa that particular Cambridge question. Of course, it was written in June 2009 and it was a paper 1. Saka tinoita say, kutanga tinoverenga our question, find the set of values of k for which the line y is equals to kx minus 4 intersects the curve y is equal to x squared minus 2x at two distinct points. So I'm going to be explaining the various keywords we have in our question, which are going to aid us kuti tinoiweka sei. But the first thing we obviously do, since taudzwa nequestion yedu, taudzwa kuti kudini. Zvanzi, of course, we need to find the set of values of k. So zvanzi, for which the line y is equals to kx minus 4 intersects the curve y is equals to x squared minus 2x. Saka kana tikaudzwa about an intersection, tova tatoziva kuti we have simultaneous equations. So that is the first keyword, kana kuti an indicator, indicating word. Riri kutiudza kuti question yedu tinoiapproacha sei. The moment pataudzwa about two curves intersecting, zvoreva kuti those two curves, kana kuti those two functions, those two equations become simultaneous equations. So let us write down our two simultaneous equations. So the first one, y is equal to kx minus 4. This is equation 1. And the second one, y is equal to x squared minus 2x. This is equation 2. So we want to solve these two equations simultaneously. Of course, there are many ways of solving simultaneous equations. Takadzidza in O level about the method of elimination, tikadzidza the method of substitution, then tikadzidza futi the method of equalizing. So the method yatoda kushandisa panapa is the method of equalizing. So let me just brief you on this method. Saka in solving simultaneous equations, we have what is called the method of equalizing. The method of equalizing inoshandisa a principle inonzi transitivity. Transitivity is actually a law of logic, cannot rule of logic. Inoti kudini transitivity? Transitivity inoti, if A is equal to B and A is equal to C, then B is equal to C. Does not taura this law of logic, cannot rule of logic in transitivity. If A is equal to B and A is equal to C, since A are B, A are C, zoreva kuti B and C, then B is equal to C. So that is the same thing we apply here. Because taudzwa kuti y iri equal to kx minus 4, ndokuudzwa kuti the same y iri equal to x squared minus 2x. Saka panapa this means, talking about therefore, kx minus 4 is equal to x squared minus 2x. This is the method of equalizing. Murukuzona. Saka let us try to solve this. Of course, tikaendeza zvinhu zvese ku right hand side, the better. Kura kuti kunoku kunosara kuina 0. 0 is equal to x squared minus 2x. Kx ikapota inosvika iri minus kx, minus 4 ikapota inosvika iri plus 4, like that. Then of course we can rewrite this as simply x squared minus 2x minus kx plus 4 is equal to 0. You don't have to make these two steps. You can just go from this part to this part. those who are going to be marking your papers will understand. Tadaiso, we now have a quadratic situation. Chinotiudza kuti this is a quadratic equation is this order 2. Because a quadratic equation, it is a polynomial of order 2. Kana titi order 2 tiri kuti the highest power, the largest power in the function, in the polynomial, in the equation is 2. Satikatasa ma powers atinawo tinoona kuti 2 ndiye muhombe, kureva kuti that is quadratic. The moment we see kuti it's quadratic, we now have to frame it as a quadratic equation. And how best do we do that? Saka panapa tikauya pano tikati x squared, andika toti plus, toda factor out x from minus 2x minus kx, saichava minus 2 minus k x then plus 4 is equal to 0, like that. So panapa taita say tinoziva kuti a quadratic equation in a general form ax squared plus bx plus c andika is equals to 0. And we also know that from this general form we have what is called the discriminant, and the discriminant is equal to b squared minus 4ac. Now tikaverenga muquestion medu zvirubva zvanzi. Alright, let me just repeat. Find the set of the values of k for which the line y is equals to kx minus 4 intersects the curve y is equals to x squared minus 2x. Intersects iri kutiudza about the simultaneous equations, but zvirubva zvanzi at 2 distinct points. Saka tikaudzwa kuti we have 2 distinct points. Zvandaunderline zviri kutiudza kuti the discriminant b squared minus 4ac is going to be greater than 0. Because we learned, you must remember, kuti discriminant yedu kana iri greater than 0, tine 2 distinct roots. Kana discriminant yedu iri equal to 0, tine 1 repeated root. Andika? Kana discriminant yedu iri less than 0, tine no real root. We don't have a real root. Of course, if you do further mathematics, you learn good not sometimes, but almost all the times, tinenge tine ma complex roots, which are replacing real roots. But that's not in the scope of what we are learning now. Saka manje tichi understand nekurangarira this summary of how the discriminant relates with the quadratic equation. The moment yataudzwa kuti at 2 distinct points, zvoreva kuti we have 2 distinct roots. Zvoreva kuti the discriminant should be greater than 0. But for our discriminant, we should clearly label b, a na c. Kuroti ma coefficients edu anofanirwa kuva clear. And to make our coefficients clearer, that is the reason why tatarisa x unoyu. Tika factor out x, kureva kuti bracket rese rinobva rava chi b. Saka tatova apa manje tenge takuti a, that is a is equal to 1, because the coefficient of x squared ndi 1. B is equal to bracket of minus 2 minus k, and c is equal to the constant 4, like this. That's important. Saka a takumuziva, b takumuziva, c takumuziva. What are we going to do? We can write a small statement panapa, because we are trying to communicate mathematics, and our small statement is going to be at 2 distinct points, and at 2 distinct points, b squared minus 4ac in our discriminant and is going to be greater than 0. That is what we write. So allow me to remove my notings atanga tichita pano. you can copy them somewhere else if you are going to need them. Okay, saka takuda use this space. So panapa tati at 2 distinct points, b squared minus 4ac is going to be greater than 0. Kureva kuti, what is b? B into minus 2 minus k. So minus 2 minus k squared, and then it's b squared minus 4ac. So it's minus 4 multiplying. What is a? 1. And what is c? 4. What should this be? Greater than 0. Like this. So panapa we want to solve this. Pak solve hapa. Teacher ita say, let us expand this part. Of course, I saw you, one of my students in the method, tried to solve this like this. Minus 2 minus k squared eventually will be greater than 16. Then taking the square root of both until turn situation here minus 2 minus k is greater than plus or minus 4, etc. Izo zinoita, but izo zinoproduce ama critical values chete. Saka mogona mchifunza kuti chi chinonzi critical value zviri kumbobva kupi. I'm going to answer that when I come to that stage. But for now, when you are solving this situation, please musaendesa a number kusaidu. Number 1, the mistake you can do is mnogona ukanganwa the plus or minus. And that's a mistake. Secondly, apa murungo buditsa anonzima critical values, CV in short. So I'm going to explain it. Please bear with me. But what is happening here? So panapa, we are going to expand this part. And then of course minus 4 times 1, that's minus 4. Minus 4 times minus 4, it's minus 16. And this is greater than 0. If we do our expansion, minus 2 times minus 24, minus 2 times minus k and plus 2k, minus k times minus 20 plus 2k, minus k times minus k and plus k squared minus 16 greater than 0. Then panapa, what are we saying? 4 minus 16 d minus 12. Saka panapa, it's minus 12. Then plus 2k, that's plus 4k. Then of course plus k squared. This is greater than 0, like that. Katinyore zvakanaka. K squared plus 4k minus 12 is greater than 0, like that. Okay. Chandakuda kuita panapa, ndakuda kuita consider k squared plus 4k minus 12. Ndakuda kumbo separate from our solution so that I can factorize it separately. Saka pak factorize hapa manje, of course it is written in the correct order, the standard form of a quadratic expression, which is ax squared plus bx plus c. In layman terms, trikutanga na squared toenda pane ingori ne variable tozopedzisira ne constant. Saka we go on to multiply the first and the last terms to get minus 12k squared. That is what we get there. Okay, let me remove this part unless it begins to confuse you. And let me also draw another borderline because we are going to use this space. So I'm going to push everything to this side. I hope you are following. Saka apo maje we need factors of minus 12k squared, such that if we multiply those two factors, they give us minus 12k squared. Add them or subtract, they give us 4k. Saka if we go with 6k minus 2k, 6k minus 2k and 4k, and 6k times minus 2k and minus 12k squared. Kurewa kuti k squared plus 6k minus 2k minus 12. We are going to replace the middle term with this expression. We bracket. After bracketing, factor out k panapa kuti yasara richi k plus 6, factor out minus 2 kuti panapa ive futi chi k, it's plus 6 because minus 2 times plus 6 does not per minus 12, like this. And this eventually is simply k minus 2, k plus 6. Therefore, takuda kudzosera zvinhu zvedu back into our solution. Kurati part ina k squared plus 4k minus 12 greater than 0 inenge yanechi bracket of k minus 2 bracket of k plus 6 is greater than 0, like that. Okay, saka tasvika panapa takuda kuchiwana anonzi critical values. Saka panapa we are going to need to sketch a curve, but we don't do it strict to how we sketch curves in everyday mathematics. What do I mean by this? We are going to write a certain statement. We are going to equate bracket ra k minus 2 kuna 0 and also equate bracket ra k plus 6 kuna 0. Kurati statement ratunyora panapa tinoti therefore the critical values of k are what? They are 2 and minus 6. I hope you understand that statement. The critical values of k are 2 and minus 6. Tama wanna say tinotora bracket iri equator kuna 0 ndokwabva 2, totora this bracket to equator kuna 0 ndokwabva minus 6. These are the critical values. But kana tikadzokera like this part, because k squared plus 4k minus 12 is a re-expression of the function we are dealing with. If function yatiri kudila nayo yatasimplify kuti ive quadratic. And tikatarisa panapa tinoona kuti the coefficient of k is positive, the 1. Takati tinenge tine a minimum turning point. So we can actually write this and when a is greater than 0 and we have a minimum turning point. Saka tane zvinhu too much zvinotibatsira kuplota the graph. So I'm going to push it further kuti idai so. Okay, tane zvinhu zviviri zvinotibatsira kuplota the graph. What exactly are these two things? When a is greater than 0, we have a minimum turning point and we also have critical points. Saka nata kuplota tinongoisa the x-axis line, then taona kuti graph redu rine minimum turning point, saka ringe rakadai so. Then ari kunzi ma critical points ndepanapa neapa, kureva ma points where our graph meets the x-axis. Saka kuti critical point panapa zvinogona kuinterpretwa loosely as meaning root, but let us call them critical points. Saka at this point, of course, inenge iri minus 6 and panapa iri 2. Of course, ma positives angari ku right, ma negatives ari ku left. Okay. Tadai so, we want to interpret what this actually means. Kana tichiti greater than 0, tinenge tichirevei. Kuti greater than 0 zvinoreva kuti positive. Kureva kuti k minus 2 bracketed, k plus 6 bracketed should be positive. So if we mathematize statement riri kuti greater than 0, zvongoreva kuti we want things which are positive. And because of this situation, taane kagraph kedu aka katadrowa tichishandisa minimum turning point pamwe chete nemacritical values. Andika? Then we have to know that since the region that satisfies the inequality k squared plus 4k minus 12 is positive, greater than 0, this means we shade the area above the x-axis. Saka I topic iri kutidzosera zvishoma kutopic yatakaita on linear programming, where we were representing inequalities graphically. Saka tato representa that inequality graphically. Ndokuona kuti because our inequality is overall positive, zvoreva kuti we have to shade pamsoro pe x-axis kuri ku positive side kunoku like this. So kundo kwatino shade up mapaona. Since the region that satisfies the inequality k squared plus 4k minus 12 is greater than 0 is positive, we shade the area above the x-axis. This area must be bound by the x-axis and the curve. Okay, saka let me write this statement down. Mogona kurida in your notes. Statement racho riri kuti, since the region that satisfies the inequality k squared plus 4k minus 12 greater than 0 is positive. Mind you, this is the easier interpretation of this. Nchakuratidzai kuti munogona kuzointerpreta differently, but that will be a little difficult. We shade the area above the x-axis. And the area must be bound by the x-axis and the curve, like that. Okay, let us push again. Tichi isa our conclusion. Saka tatoisa ka graph kedu kuti represent inequality yedu graphically, taona kuti where we have to shade area above the x-axis, also bounded by the curve. We are now going to make a conclusion. Saka answer yedu chayo inenge ichiti, therefore k, because kuside kunoku kwa minus 6 and kuside uku kunge kuine ma values are less than minus 6, so k is less than minus 6, and also k kuside uku kune ma values are greater than 2, k is greater than 2. This is our conclusion. So kana tichida kutsvaga the values of k, kana kuti tikadzokera question kwedu, question yati the set of values of k, we are going to eventually have to use a quadratic graph which is going to give us the summary of the values of k. Ndo maitiro atinozoita. So this is how it is done. Please make sure kuti manyatso kubata zvaitika panapa. If you have any question, please don't hesitate to ask. If you have any questions, please don't hesitate to ask in the comments section. But if you want extra help, one-on-one lessons, you have to WhatsApp us on that number, +26371 521 3310. Maita basa, muwe neswara kanaka.